So this is going to be the studio breakdown session of our song Peace of Mind. This has been highly requested for a while, so I'm excited to jump into this. Trying to get back into the headspace of when we first did this song. It was on our album Ashes. I believe it was one of the last songs that I had written instrumentally, and all I remember is I wanted something kind of Bad Omens, which I guess in a way is, at the time, it was Bad Omens' first record that was out. So kind of more Bring Me the Horizon, but specifically I don't remember what song off their first record, but there was like some piano melody that I was like, I really like that sound and vibe, so like I want to try something like that. And when I was messing around, that's where I had that original dun 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 dun. It was like that simple, just going down the scale that I really liked. So I came up with that, and I think I built the chorus first, from what I remember. But we'll start at the beginning of the song here. So I had the idea of it just, for the most part, being all electronic, no band elements, until the ending, kind of like If It Means a Lot to You by Dare to Remember. That was the idea going into the song. So I had all like the boom hits on like these background drums and everything, but I'm like, how do I start the song? And I didn't want to just start with the piano, so I'm like, okay, let's just set the mood with a hum in the background. Just the main pad, and I just had it start like a bar early, because it's literally just this. So it's just those three notes, but I wanted that first note to be really long to start off the song. And then we have the piano. I love that. I'm actually really stoked on this piano melody, because it wasn't just like something too simple, but as I was like constructing it, every like little section just kind of like started coming to where I'm like, this is actually a really cool piano melody idea. I really like this. But yeah, obviously you hear that in the song because it's the only thing that you're paying attention to. But I felt like it was a little weak. So if I mute this sine bass here when it comes in, like now all of a sudden it sounds like it's kind of boring, even though both of these pad and piano elements are like really cool. I'm like, why does it just sounds boring? And it's this sine bass underneath, I think, is the only other track going. Yeah, that really brings it in. So it's literally just a sine bass that you probably can't even hear on a phone. But it's not like crazy loud to where you focus on it. At least to me, it's more subtle, but it really just gives a feeling of dynamic that I really, really like. It added all those low end frequencies to make it feel more impactful. So it just goes through the main verse melody here, the chords all the way through, to set the tone for the song. And then the percussion elements come in, which is just, it's a kick and a snare sample that I had, and then I just added a bunch of reverb and EQs on it. And that's it. It was tricky finding the right beat to go in the background, because I didn't want the beat, especially the kick drum, to distract you as you're listening to it. So I finally settled on this. So it's so simple and just copy paste, copy paste, copy paste, because your attention goes to either the melody on the piano or the vocals once they come in. So I was like, it doesn't really need to be anything too crazy, even though a different beat would work here. I was finding it clashing, and all of a sudden the rhythm would just like stick out to me too much. So I'm like, all right, let me just do the most simple beat and just copy paste it throughout this entire part. But yeah, that's it for these verses. That's the track. Got the sine bass, you got that pad, piano, and then these drum hits. So that's it. That's it for tracks. There's obviously no guitars or drums on that part, so we just got vocals. And I will preface this. So these vocal stems, these are so auto-tuned, man. Like, I always felt, oh, it sounds good. Like, it sounds good. Logan sounds good. But even on the mixes, I'm like, yeah, you can definitely hear the tuning more on our older stuff. But when it comes to, yeah, these first two records, I'm like, he definitely had more auto-tune on. But when you hear these stems on their own, I'm like, holy moly. I hadn't heard these stems in ages, but until like 2 days ago when I was prepping this session for this video. And I'm like, bro, oh my god, the amount of auto-tune is crazy. You don't necessarily hear it. Whatever, I'm just gonna shut up. Here you go.
In the shade again, I've fallen right into the masquerade again. Can't for the life of me remember when I got lost somewhere between now and then.
It's not super obvious on that part, but right here, now and then, there's like a flip in the auto-tune to hit the different note. And as it goes on, especially on my vocals too, because this is the first song that I sang on, it's just hella tuning. But anyway, to break this section down, obviously there's only the one vocal going on, so we wanted a lot of ambience and space going on. When I had the instrumental, Logan was just like, I think from what I remember, it was his first idea. He's like, I want this song to be about us and like everything we've gone through so far and where we're at and like how we're looking forward to the future and everything. It's been a struggle up to this point, but like we're still pretty early into our career, so like let's just keep pushing through, let's keep going. So I don't remember there being too much changed in this section. Vocally, the only thing I do remember getting changed is in the chorus. Logan's melody was so high, and Johnny was like, we need to rework this melody because sure, you're hitting the note, but like it doesn't even sound that good because it's just yeah, he's like, it just sonically doesn't sound very pleasing. Like you're trying way too hard. So let's simplify the melody. Let's bring it an octave down and change it and kind of curve it into what it ended up being. But I can go into that in more detail when we get to the chorus.
I had a vision for something more.
Oh, you could really hear it right there, right?
I had a vision for something more.
Something more. That's like the type of autotune going on these first two records. It wasn't like, oh, this note's out of key or this note's slightly out of key. Let me like bump this down a little harder and then lightly push this one up. So then it's like everything's good. It's like, no, everything's just like pretty harsh. So when you do that, like you kind of, it's not literally the T-Pain effect because that's like you have the one knob set to 0 or whatever. So it wasn't like that harsh, but you can hear the artifacts in the vocals and it gives it kind of like a T-Pain auto-tune vibe because it wasn't like going through each note and trying to make it sound natural, like by just like helping the note. It was just like, oh no, I'm just going to slap it to the grid. I'm going to slap this one to the grid. But when you do that, you get like these weird effects unless you go through and clean it up.
Fire inside me and I felt it to the core. So much of the world I wanted to explore, but I never made it 5 feet from my door. I'm done wasting away. No excuse.
That was Johnny's idea. On that line, we should do a double. So then it just kind of adds a little bit more presence to it. So that's underneath it.
I'm done wasting away. No excuse.
And then you add it back in.
I'm done wasting away. No,
it's just a subtle texture.
there's nothing left.
And then the same thing right here.
Finding a spark deep down in the dark. It's far from easy, but I needed a brand new start.
Yeah, I love that reverb tail. Okay, well, since we're on vocals already, moving into the chorus here. Yeah, this is the only way that I will find. It was like so high. I think that was the melody. This is the only way that I will find something happiness in this life. So it's just like so high melting, and Johnny's like, let's take it down a notch, all right, Logan? Let's take it down a notch. It was really funny. Haley, when I first heard that piano line alone, Linkin Park vibes. Honestly, yes, definitely. It wasn't where my mind was at the time, but for sure, it's definitely Linkin Park vibes. I agree, which makes sense because Bring Me the Horizon and Bad Omens were super Linkin Park vibes as well. So if I was drawing inspiration from them, then indirectly I'm getting Linkin Park vibes. Yeah. Always love the dynamics of this song. The slow build is what makes it so special. Completely different end of the rock spectrum, but the build is so similar to My Immortal by Evanescence. I'm not familiar with that song, I don't think. Don't crucify me. So yeah, chorus, vocals. We got dubs on this part.
This is the only way that I will find something near to happiness in this life. I can't remember the last time that I had any peace of mind.
Yeah, I think that melody used to be I can't remember the last time that I had or can't remember the last time that I had any peace of mind. And Johnny is like, just keep it low. I had any peace of mind. It's all like the subtle things that can really shape a melody into being so much better. Even though Logan's idea was there. And then we do got these background ahs that we came up with. I think we came up with that while we were recording. We're like, ooh, we should fill this gap with an ah. What's this one? Oh, those are just the delays. Yeah, those specific words we wanted to have a delay. Like, if we didn't have that, it would just be... Dude, if you take out all of these... Okay. Well, here, let me unmute everything. Then I'll mute the background vocals. It's a little weird. Like, it's awkward if you ask me. So having delays on certain words or a background melody, it really connects everything together. So I think it's those subtle details that really can bring a song from one level to the next. It's because without it, it's just awkward. And you're just standing there like, okay, cool. Just waiting for the next line to come in. There's nothing that connects them. So having like a fluent, like that's what makes it like a song to me, other than like a person just saying some words. You add them back in and it changes it entirely, dude. Yeah, and even the way that these O's in the end, like that note and the harmony or the harmonics of hitting that note and just the reverb on it is just like adds to the open space that connects chorus to verse 2 as well. Without them, it's just awkward as well. But yeah, so that's why delays and filler melodies are so important when constructing a good chorus. Yeah, so we can go to the music side of things now. Yeah, so it's for the drums, you can see here, obviously, I added more kicks and I sped up the snare count. So it's like instead of every bar, it's like every half bar or whatever. Instead of every 2 bars, it's every bar. And then I added extra kicks in there because I wanted it to have more build than the verse. But it kicks off with just this reverse cymbal crash. Oh yeah, and then we had this reverse crash as well. So we had 2 layers of those going on. Johnny added this. I don't remember this. Ambient snap. Oh, dude. Yeah, I don't know if you remember that, but that was in A Life Worth Living. The dan dan digga digga dan 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 dan. He made that snap sample for A Life Worth Living. So then 2 albums later, he's like, dude, I still use this snap sample all the time. We should add it here. But it adds a lot. If we take that away, how does that sound? Well, first of all, let's take away these reverse cymbals. See how awkward it hits. Like, it's not bad. It works. You add in these reverse textures. Like, it feels nicer, more relaxing, but it also is like cueing you like, oh, something's coming. Like, you can already get the vibe, like, okay, there's empty space here. There's another section coming, probably the chorus. But hearing the reverse cymbals, it really is like, ooh, here we go. It gets you primed for what's coming next. Yeah, let's hear that again without this snap. Like, that sounds nice. I feel like you could debate whether you need it or not, but let's hear it with it. It just adds, dude. Like, it's all those type of elements that, like, the ones that you don't necessarily need, it's still like you're getting the point across. So it's not as important as like the reverse cymbals or something, but it's another texture that just adds to it. And without it, now you can tell, oh, it's definitely better with it. But if you take those reverse cymbals out, now there's a greater difference between like what sounds good and what sounds awkward. You know what? That's probably, it wasn't on my mind. Like I was saying earlier, when I was writing this, it wasn't what I was thinking of back then. But yeah, Shadow of the Day was probably what was like subconsciously driving the song. That song's so good, and I love that song, obviously, way back in the day. So that was probably what I was thinking of without thinking about it. Totally. I definitely hear it. Yeah, so we just speed that up, and then we got the sine bass, still the same. Yeah, so we cut this pad from the verse, and then we add this pad instead. It had like water droplet sounds on it that I thought was really cool. But yeah, as far as the chord progression goes, we wanted it to be different than the verse. So instead of like ding, dun, dun, we want it to like build to give a different dynamic. So we go lowest, middle, high, dun, dun, dun. And then I don't know if you noticed on the second time through when it repeats, instead of just going dun, 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 and holding that high note, we go dun, 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 and go back down. So like it's kind of like a step ladder going back down into the next section. But holding the high note the first time around, I feel is just the move. But then we could have just kept it the same chord progression, the second bar, but adding that drop in the note, I think adds more emotion. It's like that subtle change of a note on the second time through. It's like thinking about these things is like, that's why making music is so fun. And then we got this pad as well. Kind of sounds like a like string, like cello pad. Oh yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah. Again, even more dynamics. Like we make that low note drop get a little quieter so that on the second half of the chorus it gets louder. We can automate the volume and then we add more harmonies or like octaves. So then the second half of the chorus has a subtle bigger feel. It's something you won't even pick out on, but it just makes it feel bigger. So it's even though it's going from a small or verse into a big chorus, the second half is a little bigger, so it keeps the momentum moving forward. Yeah, and then we just got the same thing, but just on a piano. But yeah, I really like this new piano melody that I did. Kind of a classic. It's in like EDM music a lot, where they'll do a melody as like a synth lead, but then the second time around you go an octave higher. It's just like a classic thing to do, and I love it. Adding that little pause in the melody. Oh, and then I also on this part added a higher note. Instead of adding a pause at that section, I added more and then wanted to go really high for just one note because it created this like ding splash sound with the reverb. Yeah, and then second verse is literally just the same thing. But then we got my vocals. Oops. Gotta mute the tracks here. And this was the really weird part because like Logan was like, I wrote this song, man, about us. So like it'd be really cool if you could sing the second part of the song. So it's like we're singing it together because there's no scream. So it's like, what are you gonna do? I'm like, yeah, okay, I can try. And then I went in and I started singing this low part. And all of a sudden Johnny and Logan were like, yeah, you sound a lot better than we thought you were going to, because it was lower. And I was definitely channeling like a Chester, like on his lower singing. I was trying to like sound more like that. But then it was weird on certain melodies. Like it was like kind of my first time trying to sing, especially in a recording setting, that I was really not hitting certain notes. So then I started getting in my head and I was like freaking out because I'm like, this is Johnny Frank, like beyond just like at that point in time being friends and chill with each other. I'm also thinking the fact that you are still like someone that I listened to growing up in high school, that like I respect and look up to a lot. So it's just crazy that I'm singing in front of you right now. But then I'm also like, oh no, I'm singing in front of you. You're a professional like producer and I can't sing the notes. So you're sitting here doing take after take after take and you're getting bored and frustrated. Yeah, I'm going to have to try and wrap up stream here, unfortunately. But anyway, yeah. So then I went out to the car and I was like having like an anxiety attack and I was freaking out. And then I calmed myself down. I went back in. I finished the low singing, but for the chorus, I could not sing that high. So we just called it a day. But then after we got back home, because we just pasted Logan's vocals, Logan was like, dude, you really need to do it. So then at home on my own time, when no one was home, I set up my mic and I just did it like a million times and I found the best takes. I sent them to Johnny and then he put those in the song after the fact. Dang, I really wish we had more time to go through this. It's probably not going to make any sense to do it this way, and I apologize for interrupting it, but I'm going to end stream. I don't want to wait another week to finish this, so I'm going to go get my haircut, and then I'm going to come back probably in like a couple hours. It'll take a bit, and then I'll just boot up, stream again, and then I'll finish this session here. Okay, so part 2 of this studio session here. I'm slightly forgetting where we left off. It was at the chorus, right? No, it was on the second verse. Yeah, so I think I was saying before, at the end of the last stream, that the story about me going home to record these vocals. So
I was fixated on the expectations of everyone around me. I was so frustrated. I became addicted to always overthinking everything I did. I had nothing to give.
that line right there, what I was saying before, where there was like notes I just wasn't able to hit because I didn't have control.
I had nothing to give. I did. I always overthinking everything.
Or was it the next line?
I had nothing to give.
Well, I had nothing. That was definitely hard tuned.
I started disappointing
Oh, it was this part. One.
always letting down the ones that I love.
I love. That was the one I struggled with the most, going from higher to lower.
That I love.
Yeah, you could really hear it on that.
Always letting down the ones that
I love.
always letting down the ones that I love.
That was definitely a better take. Didn't have as much tuning on it. Anyway.
Always letting this road is covered in ice and paved with sacrifice. I gave it all away and I paid the price.
Yep, and in the background, that was the same thing for the tracks. There's nothing to really go into on there. However, the gap that brings in the second chorus, on the first one, we kept it just like empty. Oh, that was for the verse. Sorry. We kept it just empty with a delay on the piano. Do 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 do. But on this one, I wanted it to not be just copy paste, so I had like I added the do 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 do.
I paid the price. This is the only way that I will find.
And then what else did we do differently? Yeah, so these tracks right here at the bottom. This is a fun fact. So Lee, who's the guitar player, primary songwriter for Holofront, he helped add these elements to this track. Johnny was like, hey, I just feel like it could use a little bit more post-production. So he's like, do you mind if we link up with Lee and have him help write? Because he had helped co-written a couple songs in the past. GHC, Suffer. So Lee added these elements in the background. And it's funny. I don't remember which track it is. Is it this one? Yeah, this might sound familiar. I didn't notice until I originally got the stems and went through it, but when I heard that on its own, I'm like, oh my god, let's use this. It sounds like creepier, darker, heavier than this song. You don't really hear it in the mix, but on its own, I'm like, this sounds like it could be for a different song entirely. And that inspired the whole rest of our song enough. Yeah, he also added this piano, which is just the same thing, same melody. And then he added this, which is just the same thing. But he also added, is it under guitars? Yeah. Halfway through this chorus, he added this guitar in the background. which I think you can hear it. Yeah, just a little bit in the background you can hear it. But it was just a subtle extra texture to make it even more big than the first chorus to continue that building momentum. So this song definitely from the get-go had a very specific focus of like, we want to just incrementally build and make it this like huge ending, which before we can get to the huge ending, we need to make it smaller to really make it impactful. So after this chorus, so we just got his low vocals.
I'm done wasting away. I'm done wasting away.
Which I'm pretty sure you can kind of hear that there's multiple voices. I think we did like 3 or 4 vocals. We didn't want it to be too big, like a gang vocal, but we did want it to have a little bit more than just a vocal up the middle. So you can kind of hear like it's not time aligned perfectly, which we didn't want. We wanted it to have that separation. Let's see. If we mute vocals, there's no guitar here. Yeah, it's just that piano from earlier, but it's a little different tone because we wanted it to have more of a real, like, grand piano feeling instead of like a synthy piano. There, and that drum beat too. That was, I don't remember who came up with that. I think I had the idea, but I could be misremembering this entirely. But I think Johnny like was like, okay, let's mess with the snare roll a little bit, and then we like dialed in the right vibe that we wanted. Yeah, that build up is super dope. Yeah, so we actually had a bass drop. And then it seems we have a slam effect. And then this swoosh, which we did have earlier. What else is going on in the background here? I think it was guitars that really made this stand out, yeah. So we had just the 3 chords on the rhythm guitars. So that was. Then we had these guitar leads. Let's see what this one sounds like. Yeah, and that's the one that trails off at the end. You can see it here. Sounds so pretty. What was this other lead in the background? Oh yeah, really fast. And then we had whatever this is on the second half. Oh, that's just the same thing from before. Okay. But if you take all this out, right? Just take these lead guitars out. It'll still sound good, but I think they add so much atmosphere. Add them back in.
Oh, such a big last chorus, man. Ending on the piano too. The vibe I was after, I don't know if any of you would even know it, but the Halo 3 soundtrack. There's like one of the songs in Halo 3 has a very like grand piano sound, and I wanted something that had that kind of vibe, which is what we ended up doing. This drum fill that was really dope. But otherwise, it's just super simple the whole time. Vocals. So we just had my vocals pasted again because Logan was gonna do these background vocals. Oh yeah, that was a very cool background vocal. I remember writing that one, and Johnny was just like, "Peace of mind," like kind of like just joking. We're like, actually, that's pretty sick. So Logan went and recorded that. Adding the gang vocals in the background. And he also had just this one over the ending. Oh, that's me. Never mind. Way. And I didn't notice at the time, but when I originally got the stems, Johnny actually went in and did harmonies for this last chorus because we didn't have harmonies. So when he was mixing it, he was like, "Oh, I hear a harmony that we should have recorded. All right, I'm gonna do it." And then he just like did it real quick. So you can tell that he just like half-assed it just because like, oh, this needs to be in here, and then just like slapped hella autotune on it because why would he spend all the time recording that? But
This is the only way that I will find something near to happiness in this life. I can't remember the last time that I had any peace of mind.
that's such a good harmony though.
I'll fight for this, I'll bled for this. There is no turning back now.
So glad he added those, dude.
Finally, I'm able to see the place I'm meant to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's everything. That's peace of mind, man. It's like one of our best songs that we've ever done. We didn't necessarily start this band, but we started doing music together with a common goal of wanting to do music as a career together when we were way back in school. So I'm really glad that Johnny and Logan pushed me to try and sing on this, and it's led to me singing on other stuff. Yeah, it was really fun to record this one. It meant a lot. Turned out great. This is just a special song. Everyone has like their own takeaway over the years reading comments on that video. Like people can relate to it in different ways, which is very cool. I love the song. I still consider it probably definitely top 3. I want to say like my favorite song that we've done, but I don't know. I mean, I love all of our songs, but this is definitely one of my favorites that we've done. But yes.